I would like to welcome up to the front to speak to us Mr. Ian Farrar. Yes, come up, Ian. Please welcome Ian. I love this. This is maybe the best introduction I've got. Ian is a self-confessed social evangelist. And I'm sure we're going to find out what that is. Ian is also the founder of Farrar, Carpeway, and the founder and host of the Industry Angel podcast. We're honoured to have you here this afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. In the first 5 years of our lives, our brains grow and develop quicker and faster than at any other time. This shapes our future in terms of our health, our happiness, our growth, our development, and how we learn at school, in the community, and at work. How we have our relationship with our children massively affects and influences our children in terms of love and care and mental stimulation. Now, in that first 5 years, if you fast forward 15 more years, we often enter our place of work, our first work. And we aren't afforded those first 5 years. We aren't afforded that love and care and nurturing. We literally fly solo after a week, maybe a week of induction. Because we're old now, we're adults, we don't need that. We're fine. And this concerns me because we're expected now to come up with this return on investment. We've got to wash our own face in year one. And quite often, if you haven't washed your own face after 6 months, you're expected to do another 6 months on probation. Now, I first started my apprenticeship at an engineering company. This is it. It's a really vast site. There was thousands there in its heyday, but when I got there was hundreds. Now, you could go missing here. You could go messages around the site. You could go to the wood yard and meet your girlfriend. You could pop to the shop, no one would know. Now, I think the pendulum has swung the other way. We can't handle this level of inefficiency any longer. But we're expected now to wash our own face, to come up with an ROI very quickly. And the level of output that leaders expect for us is far too high. This is what we should be having. This love, this care, this nurture, this teamwork, working together, supporting each other to get through that first year, to get through that probation, to enjoy work, and you spend so much of your time there. And Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers said that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master, to become a success. You could say 10,000 hours equates to 40 hours a week for 5 years. I believe that. I believe that experts are made, never born. I believe we have to put the practice in. But what I'm concerned about is that we don't get that 5 years. We have to do it super quick or we're out the door. Now, sportsmen understood this level. This is Steve Davis. Steve won 6 world championships in 9 years. Steve Davis was practicing 8 hours a day. That's how he got there. He changed the world of snooker. Now, student coaches have understood this. This is the National Collegiate Athletic Association. This is the governing body of athletes in the States. And what they say is that athletes shouldn't participate in countable related activities for more than 4 hours a week. 4 hours a day or 20 hours a week. That's what they state. Because these students have education. Now, when there was a survey done, these were what the hours were actually. Students were looking at around about 6 hours a day. They're looking to do about 40 hours a week. 40 hours a week for 5 years, 10,000 hours. It's pressure from the coaches to put this time in. And actually 2 students filed a lawsuit at North Carolina University because they said that it really impacted their education. Now, Lord Kelvin, the British scientist, said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. Now, in business, it's quite hard to measure. We all work on projects. Projects take months, sometimes years. You're collaborating, but we're also reacting. We're reacting to emails, phone calls, social media notifications. We're not working on a project all the time. We're under so much pressure. Business isn't like a 100-meter sprint. There isn't 8 people on a starting line. There's always a clear winner. It's not a scientific experiment. Business is different. It's hard to measure. And this is what I like to say quite often to my clients when they're looking for this perfection. Perfection is the enemy of good. Good's good enough. Good's good enough. The more time you put in, we're not seeing too much of a return on that investment anymore. Just get it to a level where it's good enough and get it out. And in terms of leaders, this is what I see leaders looking for. Things that don't exist. Unicorns or 5-legged sheep. What they're looking for is developers who can code, lead a team, and talk to the customer. Have we got any developers in the house? No? Because we know developers cannot talk to customers, right? It's not a thing. Lock them in a cupboard. I wouldn't dare write a line of code. But we're looking for multidisciplined people that do not exist. Steve Jobs, great entrepreneur. This leadership style also worries me. He was a tyrant, a bully, often ridiculing his staff in public, kicking off in board meetings. Great entrepreneur. But now we see this level of leadership as trendy. This briskness, this inability to listen, this bullying techniques. I've been on the wrong side of something like this. Now, if you let that creep into our organization, it becomes toxic. And I'm sure many of you here have had the situation where you've highlighted the fact that Dave is absolutely crazy. I just can't work with him. He's got such a bad attitude. And the boss says, I know, but he's been here for so long. We can't replace Dave. Or you've said, look, Susie's just, I can't be anywhere near her. She's so negative. I know, but she's so capable. You've got to keep her. This is where business has become toxic. When you think that ability trumps trust and care and affection, that's where businesses can just go messy. But we never start out like that. We don't found our business on toxic relationships, but they can happen. This is what I believe we should be doing more of, is caring for our colleagues, togetherness, creating projects together, looking after one another, asking if we're all right, anything I can help with, are you under pressure? And if you see people taking work home, tell them not to do it. We're trying to do too much. That level of expectation is too high. It's not as high as being in a wood yard, though. I know that's going too far. So, before I broke off my corporate chains, I was a commercial director of a software business. And I'd worked overseas, Malaysia, China, Middle East. And I pushed quite hard, like way too hard. And I collapsed. I burnt out. I burnt out 3 times, not once or twice, but 3. I thought I'd learn my lesson, but I didn't. And I pushed that hard to try to scale this company within 10 years. And I wasn't supported. There was 3 directors, and the MD was never in the business. Probably maybe once, possibly twice a week, I'd see him. Sometimes wouldn't see him for weeks when I'm running around the world trying to grow the company. And one day he rang me up and he said, look, I know you're a bit stressed out. And I said, stressed? I've had MRI scans, ultrasound scans, cameras down the throat. I'm on beta blockers, chest x-rays. I said, I know, but can you just pop in on Sunday and come to the office? Well, that was strange because not it was a Sunday, just that he was in the office. So I drove up to that office about 20 minutes away, up the Washington Highway, and it was the longest drive of my life. Because he hadn't been in the business for so long, he'd often talked about ailments and illnesses, and he was off sick quite a lot. And I thought, wow, I hadn't cut this guy some slack. He's going to tell me that he's dying. He's going to tell me he's got cancer. And when I got there, his wife was there, and she was packing up boxes and putting all these stuff into these A4 photocopying boxes. And he said, take a seat, Ian. He said, I've got something to tell you. And he dropped the bombshell. He'd sold the company. Now, this is the company that I was trying to scale. And I'd asked him to buy him out before this to become managing director. And he'd said, yes, that was going to be fine, but I want you to go and sit the certificate of direction with the Institute of Directors, become a chartered director, so the customers feel good in your hands. They've been in my hands for years, but I agreed. Whilst I was going through this process, I didn't realise, but he was negotiating on the sale of the company. And I'd actually met the guys who bought the company. 5 guys had been sat on my board table, to collaborate on a project. And I'd been waxing lyrical how great we were. I'd actually sold the company. I didn't even realise it. So I drove back that evening. I was in shock. And I said to my wife, I said, I'm done. And she went, oh, get yourself in the garden, pet, get yourself a beer, it's lovely. I went, no, pet, I'm done. I've quit. And she was like, oh. 7 months I didn't work for. 7 months it took me to get my mojo back. I was bitter. I was angry. I dropped the kids off at school and I just moped around, mowing lawns, clearing the loft out, cutting the hedges. And then one day I thought, I can't let this happen any longer. I need to take control of my mind. Because every minute I was being bitter about that was a minute I wasn't doing something for me. Now I realize if you break a leg, it takes 6 to 8 weeks to heal. But my heart and my mind and my soul needed 7 months, and I got that. But one day I decided that was it, enough was enough. I need to take action. I need to start doing something. So I thought about this and I thought, I don't want to be working for the man anymore. I want to be in control of my destiny. So I thought about what I like to do. And what I love to do is be surrounded with good people. People like you guys. So I thought I'd start a company called Far North. And what I'd do is I'd help people do what I did here. I'd help them scale their businesses through sales and through marketing, through business coaching. And I loved it, and I still love it. And the beauty about this is that if I don't like working with this client, I can just walk away. I'll tell them it's not a cultural fit. It's perfect. And on this entrepreneurial journey, what I decided was I'd create a podcast as well. I'd document what I was going through, and I'd share it weekly. I'd speak to other business leaders, other entrepreneurs, and try to share business challenges and things we were going through together. I also started this year. This is another thing that I thought about starting. This is Carpeway. And what we've got is we're taking leaders out into nature. Might be 1 or 2 in here. Into nature to share challenges together. And it's strange when you're walking together. You're not looking each other in the eye. You're walking side by side as equals. And we're sharing stuff about life, about business. We're laughing, we're crying, we're falling in rivers. But it's fantastic. And sometimes I just work my way to the back and I look forward. And I look at all the people chatting who might not have met before. And after 5 or 6 hours and lunch together, packed lunch on a hill, they're sharing some absolute gold with each other. I'm so inspired by this. So next year, we might be bigger, we might do a retreat, we might do some masterminds. I know this stuff works, getting out into nature. I also started a project called 101 Volunteering because I wanted to try and make an impact. So I decided to volunteer my time 101 times to various charities and causes. I'm a bit of a goal setter, and once I decide something, I'll just literally start it the next day. I don't try to think about it too much. I'll talk myself out of it. So I quickly signed up to the Great North Run. I signed up to fight in March this year. I changed seats at the Stadium of Light. We've done litter picking. We've walked on hot coals. We even bought a dairy cow for a lady in Kenya who then milks the cow and sells the milk as part of her entrepreneurial journey. It's amazing. Just from saying, you know what it is, I want to make an impact. I don't want to look back on my autumn years and think, shoulda, woulda, coulda. What can I do? How can I change stuff? What legacy can I leave? What stories can I tell the kids? Oh, when your dad got beat up in March, it was really fun. And the podcast was flying. It was hitting #1 quite quickly, up in iTunes there. It was listened to by thousands in over 100 countries. Someone in South Shields being listened to by someone in Ghana or Iraq or wherever. It gets quite addictive looking to where people are. And this is bad, this colour scheme on this, because that's already covered. It's littered. But yeah, you know, people are listening on the other side of the world, but actually what is the beauty is friends being in the audience. So why couldn't I take this podcast into a room like this and put a live event on? And our iPhone and iPad live streamed it as well. And after people started watching on the live streams, I decided, why couldn't we put some bigger cameras around? So now we're streaming over YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, on 4 cameras to 100 and odd people. Look at that beautiful chap in the middle there. It's so much fun. And this is what's happened since the podcast in 5 years journey. I didn't plan to do any of this stuff. It just happens. When you let fate roll with it, and when you do something you're passionate about, stuff just happens. So I've been in, I've contributed to podcast magazines. I wrote a chapter in a book. I've been on various shows. I've been awarded and shortlisted. I even was a supporting artist in Vera a month or so ago because I'm interviewing Anne Cleves, the author of the books, in December. You're more than happy to come along. And I'm an Amazon influencer, apparently. But stuff just happens from deciding just to get stuff done. What if? Let's just try it. From taking control. Now, back when I started my engineering apprenticeship, my grandfather, that's not in the middle, obviously, I haven't got any royal blood, Jack Farrar there on the right. Jack died quite closely after I started work. And I was given some of these things. I was given his watch. I was given his cufflinks in a small box. And inside that box, there was a little medal wrapped in paper, and I've actually got that medal here. And the medal states that Jack served at the Westow pit for the coal board from 1947 to 1979. So 32 years Jack did in the coal board. Now, when I first started my apprenticeship, I knew I wasn't getting a long service award. I had a big gob, there was lots of redundancies, and I didn't want to serve 30 years. I didn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to work for the man and just get through life. I wanted to do stuff. What I realised was I had to become CEO of Ian Farrar Limited. I had to find out what my values were, not the company's. What was my mission in life? Create some personal branding about that. Share it on social, share it on podcasts, whatever. But shout about what I was important and what was important to me. And I've had to ask Jack whether he enjoyed his time at the coal board 32 years. I'm hoping he would say yes. But Jack never had the chance to do what I'm doing. He had to light that Davy lamp, like your parents and grandparents did in the shipyards and coal mines. They worked with their muscles, and now we work with our brains. But I want people to work with their hearts. So what I want to leave you with in summary is Carpeway is strapline seize the way. That's where the name comes from. I want people to take their own way and seize it. So a little acronym for you, just to summarize what we've gone through. Seek. I want you to seek out nature. I want you to get out into nature, seek new places you've never been, explore new places, and then talk about them, share them, take people along with a ride. Take a little video, share it on social, inspire other people to do it. Ease. I want you to ease off the pedal. We're pushing too hard. We're expecting too much of ourselves and from our employees, from our team members, from our families even. And idolize. Idolize yourselves, idolize your team members, take care of one another. Love each other. Yes, we're guys. Can we say love? Of course we can. Give them a big hug. It's great. And Zen. Look after ourselves. This is stuff you know, but it might be stuff that you might have just let slip or forgotten. But look after yourself. A balanced diet. Sleep more. Meditate. Drink more water. Exercise. You know exercise, you know it's that's a given, you've got to do it. Look after yourself, bank them hours of sleeping, do that meditation app out there. Take care of yourselves. And execute. So just like Carpeway, just like podcasts, just like the 101 volunteering stuff, these are just ideas. And an idea is just that unless you actually execute on it. You've got to create something. And if I look back now and listen to episode 1 of my podcast, it's probably atrocious. But for it to be 150th, there had to be a 1. And Picasso painted 100 of the world's best paintings, but he painted 10,000. You've just got to get it on. You've just got to start something. And that great philosopher, Ailsa, said, do you know what she said? Let it go. Now, this is what I should have done quicker. When I sat those 7 months, I should have listened to Ailsa. But I let it sit inside my mind. And when someone's squatting in your mind rent-free, it's terrible. And there comes a part of you where you just think, you know what it is? That's it. You've got to let it go. I've got to start today. Not in December, or not in 2020, today. Because no one's coming to save you. It's on you, my friends. Thank you.